There are 9 used boats out there right now that will make you regret the day you signed for them, and I am going to name every one so you can walk away before it is too late. A few summers back, a young father named Marcus asked me to look over a late-model cruiser he had already half decided to buy. Navy blue hull, white topsides, low hours on the meter, an interior so clean it looked like it rolled off the showroom floor that morning. He had the cash in his pocket and a smile on his face. I climbed down into the bilge with my flashlight while he stood on the dock telling me about the trips he had planned. And there it was, faint but plain, a scum ring running all the way around the inside of the hull, up above the motor mounts, the color of old coffee. That boat had been underwater, somebody had cleaned her up, detailed her out, and priced her to move before the truth surfaced. I climbed back up, and I told Marcus the one thing that saved him $31,000, walk away. That boat is the #1 boat on this list, and it is the one that hides the best. Hold on to Marcus, because we are coming back to him at the end. Here is what you have been told, and what nearly gets good people every single time. You have been told that if a boat looks clean, runs on the test drive, and shows low hours, it is a good boat. That your eyes and a 20-minute ride are enough. Let me be honest with you, because this is the one honest thing this whole list rests on. The boats that ruin people are almost never the ugly ones. The ugly ones scare buyers off all by themselves. It is the pretty ones, the detailed ones, the ones that fire right up and purr for the first 30 minutes, that empty a man's savings, and that you keep getting fooled by them is not on you. A cleaned-up boat is built to fool you. The gunk gets wiped, the bilge gets painted, the story gets polished, and the seller is not always a villain. Sometimes he got fooled the same way, and just wants out. That is not a conspiracy, friend, that is just money, moving a problem down the dock to the next trusting fellow. I am going to make sure that fellow is not you. My name is Bubba, and for 30 years I made my living surveying boats, walking every hull with a flashlight and a moisture meter and telling the buyer the honest truth. Is she worth the money, or is she going to sink you? I have got nothing to sell you and no dog in your fight, so you are getting it straight. Now, before we get into it, I have to be honest with you about something. Only a very small percentage of the people who watch this channel are actually subscribed. If you love the honest verdict on a used boat before you hand over a single dime, even half as much as I do, then do consider subscribing. It is completely free and you can always change your mind later. It genuinely helps an old surveyor keep making these. Right then, let us count them down, from 9 to 1, and let us start with the trap that hides in plain sight. Number 9, the boat that has sat for years. You have seen the listing, a garage find, they call it. Pristine, low hours, been in dry storage under a cover, only run a handful of weekends before the owner got sick or got old or lost interest. It looks like a diamond nobody else found. Here is the hard truth about a boat that sat. Mechanical things need to move, they need to run so the oil can coat them and the seals can stay wet and the fuel can stay fresh. A boat that sat 5 years, unless it was winterized perfectly and the engine was fogged and the fuel stabilized, has dried out seals, varnished fuel, a corroded water pump, and a bilge pump that will quit the first day you need it. It may fire right up and run beautiful for 30 minutes. Then the ticky-tacky failures start, one after another, week after week, and they never stop. The fuel pump, the trim motor, the gauges, the senders. Each one is a small bill on its own, but they come in a steady parade, every single outing, until you dread turning the key. I once surveyed a mint-looking runabout for a fellow who could not understand why I was worried about a boat with only 60 hours on it in 15 years. I told him 60 hours in 15 years is not low use, it is no use, and no use is worse than hard use, because a boat that runs stays healthy and a boat that sits rots from the inside. He bought it anyway. He called me the next spring having put $4,000 into a boat he paid $9,000 for, and he was not done. Your test. Pull the oil dipstick and smell the fuel. Milky oil or fuel that smells like old paint thinner tells you this boat did not sleep well. Number 8. The boat with a soft transom. On a fiberglass boat, the transom is the wall across the back that holds your engine, and inside that fiberglass is a core of wood. Every through bolt for a swim platform, every fitting, every screw is a doorway for water. Water gets into that wood, and with all the force and torque of a heavy motor hanging off the back, that soft wood eventually lets go. I have seen a transom crack right along the bolt line with an outboard still hanging on it, and I have seen worse. On a stern drive, that same rot lets water pass the through hull below the waterline, and now you are not just looking at a soft transom, you are looking at water finding its way into the engine itself. Fixing it means cutting the whole thing open, replacing the core, reglassing it, and replumbing everything that passed through it, which is a major job that will eat your whole summer and thousands of dollars. And here is the cruel part. Do the repair wrong, leave one fitting unsealed, and you will have a soft transom again in just a few short years, having paid full price to fix nothing. Your test tonight, and write this down. Put your hand flat on the top of the transom and have a buddy tilt the engine up and down and watch for any flex or any hairline crack weeping water. If it moves, it is rotten, and no test drive in the world changes that. Number 7. The boat with a soft floor. Same enemy, water, coming in through every screw and bolt in the deck and working down into the stringers, which are the backbone joists the whole boat is built on. When those stringers rot, the boat loses its stiffness, the hull starts to flex, and flex means cracks. Eventually the floor gets spongy underfoot, and one day it gives way. Replacing a floor and stringers means tearing the entire boat apart. The seats, the tanks, the wiring, the steering, all of it, and it is one of the biggest, dirtiest, most expensive jobs there is. And there is a second, sneakier problem folks never think about. Many of these boats have foam flotation packed under that floor, and when water gets in, that foam holds it like a sponge and will not let go. Now your boat is carrying hundreds of pounds of trapped water it was never designed to carry, sitting lower, running heavier, burning more fuel, and rotting from the middle out. Whatever you do, do not tell yourself a soft spot in the floor is no big deal. It is the tip of a very expensive iceberg, and most of that iceberg is under the deck where you cannot see it. Your test: walk the whole deck slow in your bare feet and feel for any spot that gives or oil cans under your weight. Your feet will find trouble, your eyes will miss. Number 6. The older jet boat. Now I like a jet boat. They are a blast. No propeller to worry about in shallow water, so you can nose right up onto a sandbar with the kids, and the good newer ones are a genuine joy. But the older ones, the ones from before the manufacturers worked out the bugs, run at very high RPM under a lot of stress, and they get finicky as they age. Those little high-strung engines were built to spin hard, and the folks who buy jet boats tend to run them hard, so an old one has usually lived a rough life on top of everything else. Parts get scarce, and the mechanics who really know how to sort them out get scarce too. You buy the old jet boat for the deal, and you spend the next 3 summers chasing gremlins nobody in your town knows how to catch, hauling it from shop to shop while everybody scratches their head. Your test: before you buy, call 2 marine mechanics near you and ask if they will even work on that model. If both say no, that is your answer, and the answer is walk. Number 5. The boat with an OMC stern drive. Here is a name from the Wayback Machine. OMC went bankrupt in December of the year 2000, more than 2 decades ago, and when the company died, so did the easy supply of parts. Those stern drives, the Cobra and the stringer drives, are getting nearly impossible to feed. It is even harder to find a mechanic who knows how to work on them. You can find a clean old boat for $1,000 or $2,000 with one of these hanging on the back, and the hull may be solid and the floor may be perfect, and you will still get burned, because the day that drive needs a part, and it will, you are looking at $5,000 to $10,000 and a search that ends in dead ends. Swapping to a modern drive is not a plug-and-play job either. There is linkage, there are gears, there is fitting and adapting, and the bill climbs fast. I watched a retired couple pay $1,100 for a spotless old Boader with one of these drives, thrilled with their bargain, and then watched that bargain need a drive nobody could source. They ended up spending more than $7,000 chasing parts across 3 states, on a boat that would never be worth half that. Your test: whatever brand is on the drive, search whether the maker still supports it before you fall for the hull. An Orphaned drive is a boat with a short clock, no matter how good the rest of her looks. Number 4. The boat with a force outboard. Force outboards were not all that reliable when they were brand new, and they stopped building them back around 1990. Same problem as the OMC drives: parts are hard, mechanics are scarce, and the engines are touchy even on their best day. Folks hated them when they were new, and time has not been kind. You will still find a few diehards who swear they got theirs running sweet, and maybe they did, but ask them how many evenings it took and how many spare parts they hoarded to get there. That is not a boat you go enjoy on a Saturday. That is a hobby that occasionally floats, and you did not come here for a hobby. You came here to get on the water with your family. If you are looking at a boat with a force on the back, just assume from the start that you are going to have to repower it with a different outboard, which means new controls, new cabling, new steering and shift cables, and the cost of the new motor on top of the boat. Whatever you do, do not let a cheap price on a force-powered boat fool you into thinking you got a deal. You bought a repower with a free boat attached. Your test: figure the price of a new outboard and add it to the asking price. That is the real number. Number 3. The force outboard's cousin in trouble, the boat with the cheap aftermarket lower unit swapped on. Let me tell you what a bargain brand replacement lower unit really tells you. Somebody hit something or burned up their original gear case, and when it came time to fix it, they went the cheapest route they could find instead of a proper factory unit. And here is what your gut should be asking. If they cut the corner there, on the single most important drivetrain part, where else did they cut it? Did they put in a cheap auto starter? Cheap impellers that will cook themselves? The aftermarket lower unit is not just its own risk, it is a confession. It tells you the last owner fixed this boat with his wallet closed and a boat fixed cheap keeps breaking. Your test: look for mismatched off-brand parts anywhere in the engine bay. 1 cheap fix is a story, 3 cheap fixes is a warning. If I have kept you from even one of these so far, do me a favor and tap that subscribe button, because the top 2 are the ones that cost the most and hide the best. Number 2, the boat that has clearly been beaten but wears fresh paint over it. Fresh paint and new carpet on an older boat are not always a gift. Sometimes they are a mask. A seller who suddenly detailed everything and laid down shiny new gel coat right before listing may be dressing up a boat with tired bones underneath, and paint hides the very cracks and repairs a surveyor needs to see. Whatever you do, do not let a fresh coat of anything turn your head. Ask what got covered up and why, and right before a sale. Let me give you the most expensive example I ever caught. A gorgeous 40-foot sportfish, freshly painted, gleaming, priced at $190,000. The buyer was ready to wire the money that afternoon. Under the fresh paint on the hull sides, I found a repair line the length of my arm where she had been holed and patched, and when I got into it, the whole structure behind it had been rushed and never done right. That paint was not vanity. It was a bandage over a break that would have failed at sea. He kept his $190,000 and the seller found a less careful buyer, which is exactly how these boats keep moving. Your test: run your moisture meter, or at least your knuckle, across the hull and deck and listen. Solid glass rings sharp, wet or repaired glass thuds dull. Fresh paint cannot change the sound. And that brings us to number 1, the boat that saved Marcus $31,000. Number 1 is the boat that has been sunk. A boat that has gone all the way under is the single most dangerous used boat you can buy, and it is very often the prettiest one on the lot because the people flipping them know exactly how to hide it. When a boat sinks, water gets into everywhere you cannot get it back out of. The wiring corrodes from the inside, the electronics are toast, especially in salt water, rot sets into the core, mold sets into everything soft. And if that water got up above the motor mounts, it got into the engine itself, and no amount of detailing fixes a starter and an alternator and a wiring harness that spent a night underwater. But here is the tell, the one that never fully washes out. That scum ring, that bathtub line of dirt and gunk left where the water sat long enough to stain the fiberglass, high up on the inside of the hull. That is what I found on Marcus's beautiful blue cruiser. Everything above the deck said dreamboat. That one brown ring down in the bilge said catastrophe. Get a boat history report before you buy anything, from a service like Boat US or one of the marine title checkers, because it will flag a salvage title or a reported sinking the way a vehicle report flags a totaled car. But hear me plainly, because this is where good people still get caught. A boat that sank on private water, or was raised and resold off the books before any claim was filed, may never show up on a single report. The paperwork can be clean and the boat can still be a corpse. The report is your first check, not your last one. Your own 2 eyes and a flashlight down in the bilge are the check that cannot be gamed. Whatever you do, do not, and I mean do not, ever buy a boat without getting down into the bilge yourself and looking for that ring. It is the difference between a boat and a very expensive lesson. Now let us pull all the way back and look at the whole sweep of it. Every boat on this list has one thing in common. They all look like a deal on the surface, and every one of them costs more than the sticker the moment you sign. That is the trap of the used boat market. The damage that ruins you is the damage you cannot see from the dock, and the seller with a problem has every reason in the world to make sure you never see it. But you are not helpless against that. You were only ever helpless because you did not know where to look, and now you do. The scum ring in the bilge, the flecks in the transom, the spongy floor, the orphaned drive, the mask of fresh paint. You do not need to be an expert to be safe. You just need to be the kind of buyer who checks, who takes the extra hour, who is willing to walk away from a pretty boat with a smile on his face and cash still in his pocket. That is not being cheap or being scared. That is being the man who cannot be fooled, and in this market, that is worth more than any boat on the water. Think about what that really buys you. It is not just saving $30,000, though that matters. It is that you become the one person at the dock who owns his decisions instead of regretting them, who spends his summers on the water instead of in a repair yard, who hands his family a boat that is actually a boat and not a bottomless bill. In a world that would rather sell you a problem than tell you the truth, being unfoolable is a kind of freedom. And now that you know where to look, that freedom is yours, and it did not cost you a dime. So before you go anywhere, do this for me. Drop a comment below and tell me just 2 things. What boat are you looking at right now, and which of these 9 problems worries you the most? I read as many as I possibly can, and the patterns never cease to amaze me. Thank you for spending this time with me. Look after yourselves, and before you sign a thing, let old Bubba have a look first. And do subscribe, because next time we are going wider than used boats, into the new and used boats and motors you should not touch in 2026, and I am going to show you the single most expensive word in all of boating, the one word that turns a beautiful boat into a boat anchor no mechanic in the country will touch.